Welcome to Shred and Soul.
I'm Shred, aka Kevin Wood.
And I'm Soul, aka Wind Hughes. Thank you for being here for the very first episode in our podcast, Shred and Soul. And in our video cast, we're going to talk about all things of life, music, sacred things, relationships, just cover the board. And today we just want to get to know you, you get to know us, so you know who we are, a bit about us.
Combined life experience of what, like
20
120 years?
A lot of years.
Yeah.
So we are winging it today. No script, really. Just some prompts so we remember what to say. But we're winging it today, so you get a sense of who we are in a very relaxed manner, just the way we are hanging out. We're in our home, in our little studio. So it might be a little rough today, but we wanted to get going after months of technical difficulties. We're finally ready to go. So welcome.
Welcome. So what are we going to talk about? Let's talk about how we met.
We're going to jump right in?
Jump right in.
Oh, God. Okay.
It was what, 30, 40 years ago on Bainbridge Island?
It was a long time ago on Bainbridge Island when the Seattle music scene was birthing. And I used to see this guy.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was birthing back then.
It was birthing.
What year? Let's give us some context. 80.
Oh, gosh. You're good with years.
When did you move to Bainbridge?
I don't remember. You're the time person.
Maybe 86, 88.
Somewhere around there.
87, 88. When I first saw them.
Yeah. And we both lived on Bainbridge Island and would see each other just in passing. And I was married and Kevin was married. So it was just one of those times when you see someone that you have a connection with, but you know there's nowhere for it to go.
You just know why every time you see that person, you note it in your mind and you never forget it.
Yeah. And when we did connect 20 some odd years later, we were able to count all of the times we had seen each other or spoken to each other and where they were and what they felt like. It was pretty amazing. So back in that day, as I said, the Seattle music scene was birthing, and Kevin is one of the godfathers of the Seattle music scene. So maybe you can tell them about Malfunkshun and what that was.
Of course, Malfunkshun predates our meeting.
That's true.
You know, Andy had left Malfunkshun for Mother Love Bone by the time we.
Who's Andy?
If you don't know, my brother, Andy Wood. And he was, of course, this lead singer to Mother Love Bone. That's what most people know him for, but he was also the lead singer for Malfunkshun and also one of the founding members of Malfunkshun, as well as being the bass player. And he wrote probably most of the songs, although I did help on a lot of them. Let's get back to our story, though. Like,
Okay, so he was this hot rock guy.
And I used to walk everywhere.
He was the walker.
I had lost my license when I was a kid. And you know what? I never needed to get it back because I lived so close to the ferry. All I had to do is jump on the ferry and then, go places. So living on Bainbridge Island is just a ferry ride away from Seattle. And so I had no use for a car. So I would walk. And at first it was out of necessity because you have to get from point A to point B. And I'd say I got really good at hitchhiking. And
back in the day when you could.
Yeah, back in the day. But the more often you get seeing them out on the road walking, the more people are going to think, who's that weirdo walking on the road? He's always walking. There must be something wrong with him.
I didn't think that.
Well,
when I saw you, I would say, oh, there's that guy. I always referred to him as that guy.
That's why I had to stop hitchhiking, because none of the, no one would pick me up. Oh, there's that weirdo walking on the road. So anyway, I caught her eye while I was walking.
I'd see him all the time walking and see him in the gym, see him on the ferry. So if you don't know Washington, Bainbridge Island is on the inland waters of what was then called the Puget Sound. And so you have to pretty much ferry everywhere. And it's an island. It's a small island. And so everyone knows each other there. And in the days of the early Seattle music scene, the people there were notable. So one of Soundgarden members, some Queensryche lived there. Kevin and Andrew lived there.
I saw Ann Wilson on the ferry one time, actually.
Yeah. Ann Wilson or Hart.
I was too afraid to go say hi. In fact, she just played where we live. We live in near Santa Rosa. She just played there, and I went to go see her, and I chickened out. I know I could have said hi, but we just. But anyway, we digress.
You digress. We're going to digress and go in circles a lot, so just enjoy.
So yeah, Bainbridge Island is a hotbed for
Yeah.
talent. Eclectic people used to go there. And I would imagine there probably are a fair amount of eclectic people there right now, but
Yeah,
you got to have a eclectic wallet to live there now. That's for sure.
yeah, big eclectic wallet.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it was more of a funkier town, and all these artists and musicians were there. And I was doing spiritual work and psychotherapy. By trade, then I was a psychotherapist and a spiritual teacher. And I even had some of those notables as clients. So it was a behind the scenes, inside look of what was going on in the music scene and how that impacted people's lives. And that's material for another episode. But that's my background. I was there with my 2 kids and working and teaching at a college nearby. And I'd see Kevin walking. And I always, as I said, called him that guy. There's that guy. There's that guy. And it was intimidating because he was a known rock star back in the day, and that's how people saw him and saw his brother.
The walking rock star.
The walking rock star. And
I just made that up.
well, it was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I call him Guitar Ninja. He doesn't like that. He feels it's appropriation.
It is culturally appropriated.
Yeah, so you'll never hear him officially called that. But just between you and me, don't tell anybody. I call him the Guitar Ninja because when he plays and he shreds, you can't see his fingers move. They move so quickly and so intricately. But that's for another episode too, when he starts shredding for you and you get to see him play. But back in the day, we knew each other barely, but it was hi, hello.
We had never even said hi until
probably, the ferry, maybe.
It was probably 5 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
we there was the ferry day the ferry day. So here he was, Mr. Punk, hard rock, grunge scene. And I always would think, what do I say to him? What do I say? There he is on the ferry right behind me. Oh my God, it's that guy. And so I thought, okay, music. I had just come back from seeing the Stones in Seattle and thought, I will talk about the Stones. So I brought up the Stones and I thought it was so great. And hey, where are you going? Oh, I just came back from seeing the Stones. Mm-hmm. And he says, oh, I hate the Stones.
I was just buying Merciful Fate records at Tower,
I felt very deflated.
I had respect for the Stones and that they were seminal, but didn't listen to them. Not my cup of tea at all. Yeah.
Well, to fast forward to
I was trying to be cool by saying, you know what, I hate the Stones, but
and I was very, very sad and embarrassed because that was my in.
I was sad and embarrassed too because I was just like, unable to fully.
Yeah. But then we just chatted a little bit and got embarrassed, probably red-faced and went our ways. But now he's a Stones fan because backtracking, I don't know, maybe 10 years, maybe more.
10 years ago.
We're sitting in a pub here in town and I hear the Stones. There was a jukebox in this place. And it was a great bunch of Stones music. Someone kept playing the songs. And I looked at him and I said, right now, I'd pay anything to go see the Stones because I'd seen most of their tours and they're just amazing. If you're out there, Mick and Keith, love you. Amazing musicians and amazing performers. And I said, I'd pay anything. And I turned to the woman playing the Stones songs and said, oh, that's great selection. And she said, I'm preparing for the Stones tomorrow in San Francisco. Or was it Oakland?
It was Oakland, yeah.
It was Oakland. And I was blown away. And of course, we immediately got on looking for tickets. And we just about paid anything for those tickets. They were not cheap. But he went and saw the Stones, and he's a ardent Stone fans now. He loves them.
I love the Stones. But I did see them in 82 for the Tattoo You tour, I believe that was. And I was a fan of Some Girls. I had a copy of that. My mom bought it, actually, when I was in high school, and I listened to it. And, so... All
right, so back to when we met.
Yeah, but so I didn't have anything intelligent to say. I just kind of blew it. So,
well, we had all these times.
But we were both in different worlds though, too. It was like
But I noticed you every time.
Every single time.
Every single time. It's like there's something about that guy. What is it? Just drawn to him deeply. And so about, oh, we're going to jump all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
About 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? 15
Mm-hmm.
years ago, let's go back 16 years. I was in Taos, New Mexico, where I'd been living for a long time. And I was really coming to terms with being single and alone. And I've been single for a long time, different relationships in my life, but not that one. Or I'd think maybe they were the one, but they weren't the one. And so at that time, I was in a women's circle, and we did ceremony and ritual because Celtic and pagan traditions are a really important part of my life. And I decided that I was going to make a very clear intention about calling someone into my life, the right person. And there's a way of calling into manifestation that I practice. And so I committed for a year and a day to do this ritual that I had created, which evolved over time, and calling in this person. And it was a very involved, intricate ritual, which maybe I'll share with you sometime, maybe not. Actually, it's the last chapter in my book, which I happen to have here.
Well, that's handy.
I'm prepared. Life is the ceremony, how we live it is the ritual, the journey of a feminine shaman, which happens to be me. And the very last chapter's called The Heart Must Love. And in there I describe calling in Kevin, though I didn't know it was him at the time. And it describes the ritual. And feel free to pick up this book and look at the last chapter for a how-to of calling in your person. So anyway, I was doing the ritual, and I had a particular prayer, incantation, whatever you want to call it, and calling someone new who will into my life, and a voice, because I have voices, guides, and people that connect with me and guide me frequently. And in this moment, this very loud but very loving voice said, so someone calling into my life, someone new into my life, and the voice said, or someone from your past who will step up. And in that moment, I argued in my mind, there isn't one person from my past that I'm open or willing to reconnect with. Never would have thought of Kevin because we never had a thing. We just had moments. But I know to listen. So I listened to their guidance, and I added into my prayerful incantations someone new coming into my life or someone from my past who will step up. And I was given a particular timeline of how that would happen and when they'd be in my life. So they were going to show up in April. This was given to me. Show up in April, and in early summer, they were going to be a part of my life, basically. And in August, my world would completely have changed. And so in April 19th,
April
29th, excuse me, oh my gosh. April 29th.
Things happen.
15-ish years ago.
So yeah, I was having a rough spot with the mother of my children, and we were pretty much going our separate ways, I have to say. So anyway, I driving through Kingston, Washington, there was a massage parlor that said Blue Wind Massage, and I thought, wow, whatever happened to Wind? I remember seeing her around, and I think she moved down southwest somewhere. So I Googled and found her email address and just sent an email just saying, hey, what's going on? I used to see you around, and I never really said hi or anything because I was kind of shy, but I just wanted to, see if there's any sort of connection there. Actually, I didn't even say that. I can't even remember.
You're making it vanilla.
Yeah, but it was pretty much to the point.
Yeah, but you said I always had a crush on you, and I don't know if you remember me.
I guess
that's what he said.
Yeah.
And so at that moment, I had happened to been having lots of problems with my computer. When you get all these spam things and you click on them and a virus goes and you get downloads in your computer. And I'd had a lot of trouble, and I swore to myself I will never open one of those emails again because I was falling prey to them all the time. And so I was looking through my emails, and there was an email. I can't remember what the subject line said, but I opened it up. No, back up. I went through all these emails and I saw it and I thought, oh, that one's spam. I said it to myself, I'm not falling for that one this time. And so I looked through the things and I clicked on the ones I wanted to delete, and I was about to click delete, and that same voice said to me, open that one. So I listened to the voice because I mostly always do and always regret when I don't. And I opened it, and it was the email from Kevin saying this. And I thought, Kevin Wood, you have that sense, that name, but I never put it together with this Kevin Wood, just not in a million years. And so
I don't even think you really knew. I mean, did you know my name, Kevin Wood?
I knew it was Kevin.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But you said Kevin Wood, and there's no way I would have put it to you on Bainbridge.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Wood.
Because I did go by Kevin Stein there for a little while.
I didn't know that at all. And so I responded to it and I said,
send me a picture.
I said, send me a picture. Is this familiar?
Yeah.
So send me a picture.
And I had just happened to have a picture published in Classic Rock magazine for Reforming Malfunkshun. And I had that picture on my hard drive, and I sent it to her. And she goes, oh my God.
It's that guy.
It's that guy.
And I called my roommate, because I had a wonderful roommate, Leslie, at the time, and she knew what I was doing because it was part of my ritual work and my circles that I was calling in the person. And I did it every day, sometimes more than once a day. And I said, I cussed a bit here. I'll delete the cusses out of what I said. Da-da-da, Leslie, come look. And I showed her, I said, this is that guy, and explained to her who that guy was. And then from that moment forward, we connected.
Emailing, texting a lot,
phone calls. It was intense.
Yeah, it was very intense.
And now we're married together almost 15 years.
Yeah.
15 years.
15 years.
And it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing when you have the right person.
It is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. The right person makes all the difference in the world. Don't ever settle.
So anyway, I moved to Taos, New Mexico to be with her. And we had a gig there, actually. That's how I got over there. She set me up with a gig at a motorcycle rally. And
music festival
for my band, All
rally.
Hell the Crown. And we went and played the festival. And that's how we actually managed
It all started.
Yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah. So he contacted me in April, just like I was told. In July, you came to the festival, just like I was told. We would connect. And then in August, he moved to Taos.
Mm-hmm.
It was that quick. And it was exactly the timeline that my being awesome guy told me. And one really cool thing was when I was in the middle of all of this, I had such faith. And when we manifest or want to bring something into creation, we have to have absolute knowing that it's so now, not going to be so in the future, but that it's so now. And so you breathe it, you feel it. And I was living as if he was already here, though I didn't know who he was. It was just this presence. And I would close my eyes and feel how it would feel to be in the presence of my beloved and how I wanted that to feel. And then I would create where he would be physically. And I would think, no, I'd be about here. And I'd find that spot, and I found the spot. And then I imagined neck and head about where the head would be. And I went to the edge of my door, and I marked in pencil on the door. I gave it about an inch spread. This is where his head will be, because this is how it feels. Yeah. And when he first came to my house, I had him go to the door. Said, wait, come in, quick. Go to the door, and I had him stand there. And his head was exactly in the middle of that inch. And we had gone back actually, 2 years ago now, to do some filming for a documentary in Taos. Yeah. And we were doing a scene that was about our relationship. And we bothered the people who lived in that house now. They were kind enough to let us walk around while we did some filming. And I assertively asked if I could go in to their house. And I went to see if the lines were on the door, and the door had been sanded and varnished, so it was gone.
Oh.
So there was no proof in the documentary.
There was probably some stuff still buried in the yard, though.
maybe, yeah, from rituals, all that ritual stuff buried by the tree. So that's how we got together. And
Yeah, that's pretty much, and I knew I was, in for a different world because I had been living in Seattle, Bainbridge, Seattle, and, North Kitsap, Washington for most of my life. But I always loved the Southwest, and I always dreamed about moving down to the Southwest. And I always thought it would be more like Sedona or somewhere cool in Arizona or, southern Utah or something. And I had never been to New Mexico, and I was just, not too thrilled about going to New Mexico because I didn't know what it was going to be like. But get there, and all of a sudden, after probably 2 months, I start to warm up to the place. Before I know it, I'm noticing the hues of the greenery on the hills and the changing colors of the seasons, and all of this incredible beauty that I had no idea even existed. And so I fell in love with wind, and then I fell in love with Taos, New Mexico.
now, I don't know about 2 months. There was a lot of kicking and screaming in the beginning. I mean, a lot of kicking and screaming. A lot of those, what the bleep am I doing here in this place? It's
I guess so.
dusty, and it's all country music or Americana.
There's no rock and roll.
There's no
scene
hard
there
rock
at all.
scene, except for a couple of sprinkler people. And then he got to meet some of the musicians, and he began to see the spiritual aspects of Taos, which are very deep, not only in the ancestry, but also deep energetically in the vortex of that place. The resonance in Taos is pristine and beautiful. I never thought I'd leave, but very sacred, very beautiful place. And a shout out to all my friends in Taos. And never ever thought I'd leave it. Here we are in Northern California. Things happen. Again, material for another episode.
Yeah, Northern California is
Yeah.
fine.
There was one day in Taos. This is how bad it was for him. Right, kicking and screaming days. He was needing a desk because he needed a desk to have in his office there in the house. And he found one online, and we were going out to these folks' home. And he didn't understand that this wasn't suburbia. This is the wild, wild west. And if you don't know New Mexico, Taos is at about 7,000 feet up in the Rocky Mountains. There's ski resorts all around it. There's high desert. There's pinon forest. Vast vistas, and just, it's just amazing. But it's one of those places where the elements of the weather and of the seasons are critical to your survival. You have to know them, and you have to understand how to interact with them. So he didn't understand that we were in the middle of monsoon season.
And wading through 2 or 3 feet of mud is like what everybody does.
If you can. And so we're in the middle of monsoon season, and so he didn't know to ask the folks basically, what terrain are you in? Do I need a 4x to get there? And he had this Focus that I always made fun of. Or was it the Honda?
It was a Focus.
It was a Focus.
It
was a Focus, yeah. And I said, no, all right, we're going to take my little tracker because it's 4-wheel drive.
But we
had a desk, so we took your Focus. So we're following the directions, and we're getting close, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't believe this. We're surrounded by open, vast, high desert, and the mud is really deep, and we start to take the turns to these folks' house, and they live in an Earthship. I lived in a few of those Earthships too.
Down a long,
beautiful Earthships. Muddy road, ruts, this deep. And he drives, and he lands right in the ruts, and it's his baby car. So he lands in the ruts, and he starts yelling about being stuck in the friggin' mud. And I could see he didn't really know how to do that kind of mud because he never was in that terrain before.
They didn't have that kind of mud
in Northwest. No.
Well, they might have. I never experienced.
No, most of it was paved roads and
ice.
Yeah, ice. So I said, get out and let me drive. So we swapped places, and he goes around to the passenger side of the car and had his deceased late dad's cowboy boots on, which were his favorites.
I wanted to look like a local.
Like a local.
Well, I
But
used
they
to
were
wear them.
grunged out, torn all over the place.
They were kind of ratty looking, but
They were
they
cool.
were my dad's old boots.
Yeah. So
And,
they were important to you.
mhm.
And he starts sinking into the mud like quicksand with his father's boots on. And he looks at me, and across from us is the sacred Taos Mountain. And they always say Taos Mountain will either take you in or spit you out. And
I cursed that
he looks
mountain.
at the mountain and he cursed that mountain. What the F am I doing here? I hate this place. And so he kicked and screamed for the first few months, but then he fell in love with Taos.
Yeah, but Taos was rough. When I left there, I remember seeing, every time I looked up there, I would see a skull in the
That face on the mountain.
Yeah, I'd never noticed it before.
Yeah.
So I knew it was time to leave.
Well, and you couldn't deny that the food is amazing.
Oh, the chilies, yeah.
Yeah, the mountains are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The 4x, we'd be 4xing up into pristine wilderness every week, all the time, just going on adventures, and life was wonderful.
Little town too. We knew a lot of people, and it was rustic.
And you found some musicians to play with.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I formed 2 bands out there.
You revised during that time. We revised Malfunkshun. I was managing the band.
Malfunkshun during that time. Yeah.
We revised Malfunkshun. I worked to book gigs and do marketing and promotion. And all along while I was finishing, still working on my book, this book I showed you, which is my second book, working on that. And we just had a hell of a life, and music and fun. And then we ended up here. So that's who we are. I hope you're going to...
Well, we should probably let them know why we're here.
Why are you here?
Well, another kicking and screaming episode. But Justin, Wynn's boy, had a new baby girl, Mayana, who was having some difficulty latching.
Some medical difficulties.
Yeah, failure to thrive. And so it was like an emergency. And so we came out so we could be closer to, help out if need be, which we did, and we still do actually. But
and we're still here. She's fine. She's totally awesome and fine, beautiful. Another child born since then, and they're both lovely and delightful, and we love being around them. And so I know that deep in our souls, though, we really miss Taos.
We miss Taos, but we've been here for a long time now, and this is an awesome spot.
I don't know if I could handle the winters in Taos now that we're in beautiful Northern California weather, and we're older. I'm older, and I don't know if I want to be that cold, but could always travel in the winters. The winter or 2 winters before we moved, it was insane. They cut off the gas to Taos, and for about 8 days, it was -24, -22. It was freezing.
Unbelievably cold.
Yeah.
My daughter actually moved down to Taos, and she went outside. It was New Year's Eve, same winter. It was New Year's Eve, and she wanted to leave the party. I wasn't there. I just heard about it. And she walked out the door in her bare feet with 25 degrees below zero.
Clueless as to what that meant.
She got frostbitten on the bottoms of her. Somebody ran out and grabbed her and carried her back in.
Yeah,
Thank
we went and got her.
Or she would have lost her feet, but her feet were covered with black dead skin there for a long time.
It was awful.
And I think she still feels tingling down there.
Yeah. Well, like daughter, like father, when he first got there, I was in my office one day seeing clients, and I get a call. I can't remember exactly how it went down, but I get a call that basically says he'd locked himself out of the house and he'd gone walking and didn't even have a coat.
No coat.
He had nothing on, and it was I think it was 8 degrees or something like that.
It was warmer when I started out, but the temperature could just drop like crazy.
It wasn't warm when he started out. It was warmer, meaning it was about 8 degrees, something like that. Anyway, I get a call, basic, and I can hear him shivering. And I had to finish up my client and then get him way down in the middle of this very desolate road and pick him up and bring him home and try and keep him from having frostbite.
Yeah, it caught up to me fast. Actually, I did have a coat on, but it was just a leather coat, and I had like a t-shirt on underneath it.
Yeah,
and I was
definitely not enough for Taos winter.
So cold.
But Taos, like many places, it's one of the beauties of it. is that when you live so remotely, you have to understand how to live in harmony with Earth and the cycles of the Earth and what the seasons mean and the elements. And Taos is one of those places that really requires you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'd mentioned, I lived in 3 different Earthships there. And an Earthship, if you don't know what they are, just Google Earthships or Earthships in New Mexico. They're in amazing structures made with tires in the walls and half beneath the earth, and they have solar heat or solar gain to passive solar for the floors are stone, but they're beautiful. But you have to have this dance with the heat and the light because you control it with shades and other aspects of these homes. So in Taos, you understand once you're there, probably just 1 year's worth of going through the seasons, how critical it can be if you're not prepared, whether it's firewood, proper shoes, proper coats, dealing with mud, having a 4x, simple things like that. And your survival depends upon it. But once you learn that, it's really enjoyable to work with such extreme elements and the beauty of that area.
Yeah.
Obviously, we like Taos.
All the houses had these fireplaces that were built, kivas. They were built into the walls, and it was basically a cement structure that held a lot of heat in it. And those were usually in a window area where the sun could heat it up during the day. And you start up the fire in those things, and the wood just starts immediately.
Crackling.
Yeah. It's really, and it smells so good. It's just really a wonderful experience.
Do you miss it?
Oh yeah, I do miss it. But I love it here though now. I really enjoy the forests and the ocean.
And the sun, the weather. But it's sunny in Taos.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's 100
sunny
degrees
here
out there now.
Yeah, it's cold. It's hot today. So what else?
So anyway, that's how we ended up here in California. Yeah. And
well, it started with, why are we doing this? Somehow we went back to Taos. We always go back to
introducing
Taos.
our situation, I think.
Do we have a situation?
Yeah.
The world has a situation.
We live in an undisclosed place in California.
Undisclosed place in California in the redwoods. So our situation is the world today. And I think for me, one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast, in part, is that I like sharing with people. I've written books, I presented in conferences, I teach, and I don't do a lot of that now at all, but I wanted to have an interaction with more people, and I wanted to share some of what Kevin and I have experienced, because we're older now. You know, they call us seniors or elders. How rude. But they do. I mean, how could I possibly be that old? But I am. And we have a lot of life experience between us, not only in our relationship and ones before that, what it means to love.
Life experience.
Yeah. And how do you survive in this world today, the way it is, and sharing our spirituality and our shamanic journey as well, especially for me, and wanting to share that with you, and some of the healing work that I do, the sound healing, some of the music, we've written music together, what is sacred in the world, looking at quantum realities and how that impacts our life, but especially at this time on the planet. It's a time when people can feel really alone and confused. We have those moments of, what the is going on? But how do you live in this world and align with something that's within ourselves that's higher? And how do we make change in this world? And how do we love and live in this world together? And, drug, sex, rock and roll, all that stuff.
How do we create a harmonious existence in our world with what we have?
Yeah.
And, what's coming through the force of consciousness. So, hopefully.
And music.
Well,
Malfunkshun music.
Is a big
Why
part
don't you
of it.
show them your album? This just recently.
This has nothing to do with higher consciousness, although,
Yes, it does.
Well, it's definitely something that you must get out there and find. It's vinyl. It's on Southern Lord Records, and what it is the demo tapes that we did a long time ago in the practice studio with some re-releases of the Back to Olympus CD.
Who's we?
Uh-huh.
With Malfunkshun, right?
Malfunkshun,
Andy and Regan.
Yeah, Andy and Regan.
And can you flip it? A lot of people associate 333 with Malfunkshun, and they have no idea why, but that's an inside story for another episode
Yeah. Well,
to tease you.
It's not very complicated.
But it's an interesting story.
Yeah, we can
right?
save that for later.
We can save that. We have so many things to save for later.
Maybe give us time to make up something.
To make up something really catchy. We have a cat. She may be here every now and then on episodes because, like I said, we're not very scripted. She may come up. We plan on having Tony, Kevin's mom, who is definitely a big part of the Seattle scene and raising her 3 sons who are all
We'll have her join us
via a video. Or maybe when she's live here, have her in person. Yeah, a bunch of things that we plan on doing and just enjoy our time with you.
Be sure to remember to subscribe and like, comment. Please comment, ask questions in the comments. We'll get to you, and it's been a lot of fun. Really,
it really has.
Yeah, we'll be back next week.
Yeah, with a lot of interesting topics and not just talking about ourselves like we did this one. And we will see you next Tuesday. We will be airing new episodes every Tuesday. Thanks again for joining us and hanging out. See you next time.
See you next week. Bye.